welcome to the second episode of the HERBGARDEN knitwear podcast. My name is Hanna and I'm very, very happy that you are here. For the first episode that I released about 2 weeks ago, I was totally nervous and I was so happy and so overwhelmed when I read all your lovely comments that you left me below the episode. That was just amazing, you guys. Thank you so much. So if you're a returning viewer, I'm so happy that you decided that it was worth watching the second episode as well. And if you're a new viewer, I would like to introduce myself a little bit to you. I started knitting about 6 or 7 years ago. And in 2019, I founded my little knitwear business where I design patterns that I sell on Ravelry and on my website. And since I only ever work on one project at a time, this podcast is not totally filled with showing you my whips because I only usually have one. So I will try to give you some tips and share my experiences of the past years actually, and give you some content in every episode that you might find helpful when you're knitting yourself. So in this episode we will talk about fiber types and their properties and how maybe some fibers are more similar to each other and others are very different. So that will be the informational segment at the end of this episode. So first off, I would like to show you what I'm wearing today. To give you a little close-up, I will stand up very quickly because I don't want you to miss this lovely lace that is on the bottom here. So it all goes all the way around. And in the back, you might be able to see that it is tapered here, like it has a little peak right here. And on the front, it is currently like flat here. And we have also two different necklines. So in the front I have a round neckline, and in the back I have a V-neck. And this top can be worn in both ways. Like now I'm wearing one side in the front, but I could also change it and wear the other side in the front. And the instructions also include information how you can combine these different necklines with the different lace sections. So you could also decide to make the round neckline with the lace that's coming up like this. That is completely interchangeable. So this is why I called this design the Thar tank top. Thar as in the Great Indian Desert Thar, because deserts change so much and can look so very different. This is why I called this tank top like this, because you can mix and match all the different things. The yarn I used for it is Tynn Line by Sunkissed, and I held 2 strands together. This yarn is a mix between linen, cotton and viscose, and it has a very lovely drape to it. It almost looks like it almost looks like as if there was waist shaping, but there actually isn't. It's just how the fabric drapes by itself. So the last time I shared that I was currently working on the Sunkissed CT pattern. That pattern is now in the test knitting phase. It is this design here, which is a circular yoke tee knit in linen stitch. And I am still looking for testers for this one. So in the middle of the size range, all testing spots are filled, but I'm still looking for knitters who are interested in knitting either the smaller sizes of the size range or the larger sizes of the size range. If you're interested at all, if you have any questions, just send me a message and I will link the testing call down below in the description. All my tests are hosted on Yarn Pond, which is an awesome website for test knits there is a chat room where all the testers can share pictures and chat with each other, which is always very, very lovely and exciting. So yes, if you are interested in knitting this tee, then please consider checking out the testing call. And this tee is made from merino and silk blend yarn. I have only very little left from one of the colors, but maybe you can still see it. The colors are not quite right in the camera. This one is a little more greenish as it actually appears. Yes, that is Lacy by GGH, and it is 20% silk and 80% merino, and it has, let me see, 150 meters per 25 grams. So this is the yarn that I used for this tee. But of course, for the test knit, if you're interested, you are welcome to use any other yarn that you like, as long as you get gauge. That is very important. But it does not have to be this one in particular. Yes, so I have a finished object too since last time. Over there, I finished my fiber artist sweater. I showed this in the last episode. I was currently working on the ribbing on the bottom, and now I have finished that. I have also finished the second sleeve, and I washed and blocked it, and it is gorgeous. I might try to insert a little footage of me wearing it. The yarn I already showed last time. It is BC Garn Loch Lomond, which I really like, and I'm really happy with how the sweater turned out. There's just one thing that I'm not quite sure about. So as you can see, it has this rectangular neckline, which I really wanted because it kind of brings the attention to the colorwork panel. But when I'm wearing it, I'm actually not quite sure if this is very practical, because I am a person who tends to be cold very, very quickly. I'm basically always too cold. And so I am wondering whether I'm able to wear a sweater that is actually like a warm sweater with long sleeves made from wool, but has this rather wide neckline. I think maybe that's just a personal problem. I usually am a person who really prefers smaller necklines, like that are very, very close to your neck, because I'm getting cold so easily. And I am aware that there are many people out there who feel differently about it, who really don't like tight necklines. So I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Is that something that is actually an issue that I should be working on? Or is that something that is just my personal preference and you think the neckline is just fine? I would really love to hear your thoughts, so please write a comment below if you have any opinions about that. That would be very helpful. Thank you. So, and now I can share a little bit about the new project that I cast on. So I feel like I have to add a little disclaimer of sorts before I actually show it to you, because my designing process is not very straightforward. I try a lot, I rip back, and you have to be aware that if I ever show you like a whip, and especially if it is just a few days old, you might not ever see it again. I do not finish all my projects. In fact, not every idea works out, and at some at the very early stage, I really can't be sure that I'm going to finish it. But so far, I really like it. And first of all, I'm going to show you the yarn that I used. This is Austermann Merino Cotton, which is a merino and cotton blend yarn. It has 55% merino and 45% cotton, and it is a God certified organic yarn. And actually I bought this yarn. It is the same yarn that I used for my Vivyen sweater, just a different colorway. And I actually bought this yarn because many of you told me that they would like a summer version of Vivyen with a lower neckline, and I was really trying to do that. I cast that on several times, and somehow it just didn't feel right. I ripped it back because whatever I changed about the original Vivyen, it just felt lesser than the original. So it didn't feel quite as sophisticated, as thought through, and somehow I could not make a variant that I actually enjoyed. So I gave that up. I totally dismissed that idea, and I'm sorry to let you know that you have to live with the Vivyen sweater as it is, but it is for sure customizable. You can just knit the same pattern and just make the neckline lower yourself. But just the lower neckline would not actually be a new design, so I'm not going to publish any of that. But I'm, of course, always happy to answer questions if you want to attempt that yourself. So back to my actual work in progress. This is how I got the yarn. I tried to make a summer version of Vivyen. So now I had the yarn, and I really wanted to use it because I enjoy it very much. And this is the swatch that I made. It is this lace pattern. I hope you can see it. It has like a little V shape and lovely eyelets. And this is the swatch I made for my new project. And well, if I show you the project now, you won't be able to see a lot. But this is all that I've got so far. As you can see, it's not very much. I am making this lace pattern around the neckline, and I have worked quite a bit of short rows, as you might be able to see. This section is quite a bit longer as this one, because I want the neckline to be deeper in the front, so it will be higher in the back and will have a nice round shape like this. So this is the project that I'm currently working on. It doesn't have a name yet. I'm not sure if it will turn out the way that I hope it will, but this is all I can show you for now. So here we are. Yes, I have not yet started to work on another pattern, as 2 of my designs are still in the testing process, and I can't manage to actually work on more than 2 or maybe 3 projects at a time, because I do it all aside of my actual job that pays my rent. I'm working as a software developer in real life, so all the knitwear designing that I'm doing does not actually produce an income. So this is just what I do for fun. And this is why I cannot start working on the pattern, for example, of this sweater right now, because 2 others are still in progress. So I will do it one after the other. Yes, so I have, which is not always happening here for me, but this time I have actually some acquisitions that I'm able to show you. So I bought some Holz Super Soft in 2 colors, which I actually don't have here right now. well, this is amber, as I can read right here. I don't know, can you see it? Maybe it's not visible, but this is like merino and Shetland yarn. It's a 4-ply. It has 288 meters per 50 grams. And this is a lovely yarn that's perfect for color work. And I have 2 colors here. I'm sorry, I don't know the colorway of this one right now, but it looks almost like the natural sheep color. And I actually bought these 2 colors because I still have this yarn at home in a different color from my Johanna hat that I made. So this one I have still quite a few grams of this one left. I underestimated how much I would need for a hat. So now I have these 3 colors, and I think they work very, very nice together. And I'm planning to make some sort of colorwork sweater out of it. But I'm not quite sure when I'm going to start this project, as I feel it is more like fall project, especially because of this lovely rusty color here. So well, I have to finish the project that I just started 2 days ago anyways. So that is definitely what I'm going to work on first before I start this. And maybe I even start something else in between. I don't actually have knitting plans at all. This could be the next project after I finished this lacy summer sweater there. Or maybe I'm going to work on something entirely different. I'm not sure yet. So we will see. And I have one more acquisition. So my dear friend Ruth from Raincloud and Sage, who is located in central Germany in a beautiful city called Marburg. And she has Raincloud and Sage, which is a little yarn company. And she allowed me to purchase and test a yarn of hers that will be released in the next few weeks in May 2022. And I am allowed to show you how this yarn will look like. Just giving you a little sneak peek, so to say. So this is the yarn I was able to purchase from Ruth. And this is very exciting because it is the first ever unspun yarn from Raincloud and Sage. And I really wish that you could smell this. I love this smell so much. It's sheepy, but it's in a very good way. It feels like so cozy and it makes me feel at home immediately. So I have 2 of these, well, plates, what do you say? And each of them have 100 grams and 450 meters. And I am thinking about making a very soft winter hat, maybe with cables, and maybe something like a cowl, like a short matching warm neck accessory. And right now I'm thinking to combine it with this silk mohair here. I think those 2 colors match very nicely. This is mohair by Canard, and it has 210 meters per 55 grams. So I'm going to swatch these 2 yarns together, and one strand of each, or maybe even 2 strands of the unspun and 1 strand of the mohair. I'm not quite sure yet. And this is so nice and squishy. I really wish you could feel it. And I think it would be very, very lovely in a cabled hat, like big chunky cables. Maybe that is a project that I will start when the summer comes to an end and it feels a little bit like fall. The leaves are all turning orange and all those lovely fall colors. I think this is something I would really enjoy working on come fall. So these were all my acquisitions, and to be honest, that is very, very much for me. So usually I do not buy as much yarn, and it is very, very likely that in the next episodes there will be no acquisitions at all. So fear not if that is something that you do not enjoy very much. You won't see a lot of it here. All right. So now let's chat a little bit about the different fiber types and their properties. I think it is most easy to separate the fibers into 3 families. The first one are animal fibers, like wool, alpaca, silk, and mohair. The second family would be plant fibers, for example, cotton or linen. And then there are artificial fibers made from plastic, basically, which can be nylon, which is also called polyamide. Then there's also acrylic yarn and polyester. And I suggest we go through these families one at a time. So let's start with the animal fibers and with wool. To be honest, wool is my absolute favorite. It is super warm, very light, and it is very durable. You can wear a woolen sweater sometimes even for generations. It is an elastic fiber, so it is very comfortable to knit and not straining your wrists as much. And a lovely property of wool is that it very nicely keeps its shape. So if you knit a garment and it fits you from the beginning, then you don't have to be afraid that it will grow or shrink a lot with time. With the exception of superwash wool, which maybe grows after washing. You should definitely make a swatch and check for that, but non-superwash wool will hold its shape very, very well. It is also a material that can be felted if you want it to felt. By the way, you don't have to be afraid to wash your non-superwash wool in the washing machine. I always wash all my woolen items in the washing machine. The important thing is that you have a wool cycle that is especially made for woolen items. And what's special about that is that the machine makes sure that there are no drastic changes in temperature, because that is what would make your item felt in the washing machine. So don't be afraid to use your washing machine for your non-superwash woolen items. That is totally possible. You just have to make sure that your machine has a cycle that is designed for woolen items. Wool is also stain resistant. If you ever have poured like a beverage or something over your sleeve, you might see that it just lies on top like in little bubbles almost. You can just shake it off and it will be dry again. And that is because of the lanolin. I don't know how to pronounce that, to be honest. There's a type of, fat actually, like in the fiber, that protects the fiber and keeps it clean. Just like when you see ducks diving, when they come up again, the water will pour off of them and they are just as dry as they were before. So it's the same kind of thing with woolen items. Which also makes them very odor repellent. So it is absolutely possible to wear your woolen sweaters next to skin for a long time without washing them. Usually woolen sweaters have to be washed only like twice or 3 times a year maybe. That might sound gross to you if you haven't worked with wool, but I'm promising that it is really not. A real woolen sweater will never get smelly at all, which is an amazing quality. And have I forgotten? Wool almost never wrinkles. If you store it away in a cupboard, like a winter sweater over the summer, you can take it out and there will almost be no wrinkles in it if you store it correctly. If you wash your woolen items, the yarn will bloom beautifully. If you are a beginner knitter, you also might want to consider working with wool, because the way that the yarn blooms after washing really hides any inconsistencies in your stitches. So if you have a little problem with your tension every once in a while, I would recommend working with wool rather than with like a plant-based fiber like cotton. In cotton, usually you have to pay a lot more attention on how your stitches are worked and how even they are, because it is much harder to block that out and make it more even afterwards. So I guess that is mostly what I have written down about wool. It is fire resistant as well, so that is something that is maybe good to know. And I also tried to write down on my notes here that I'm constantly looking at what kind of items or what kind of knitting projects are perfect for which kind of fiber type. So for wool, wool is perfect for color work, because of these little scales on the single hairs, basically, the fibers really grab onto each other, which makes the floats that are on the back of your work and surrounded color work, those are very attached to the whole fabric, and there's not much risk of grabbing and pulling them while wearing, like with a button or with some kind of strap on your undergarments or something like that. So colorwork projects are awesome in wool, and cables look very beautiful in wool too. And wool is the perfect material if you want to steek an item. So steeking is like you knit something in the round, and when you're done, you're secure one part, like you. The steek is like the part of the project where you are going to cut it. So on each side you secure it, and then you cut through your knitting that you worked in the round, and that is a process that you kind of use for cardigans, for example. So since woolen fibers hold on to each other very, very good, if you want a project that involves steeking, you should use a woolen project. And of course, there are so many different sheep breeds with different attributes. It would be way too much to cover in one episode. But just to name a few, merino wool is known to be very, very soft. Then there is Gotland sheep who have very, very long fibers. So that is something that is used a lot in unspun yarn, but also for socks. Corriedale is another breed that is also often used for sock yarn because it is very durable. And then there is, for example, blue-faced Leicester, which are sheep with lovely little locks, and that yarn is almost a little bit like silk. It has this sheen to it. It feels very luxurious. So that's about it regarding wool. Next, let's talk about alpaca yarn. So in some attributes, alpaca is quite similar to wool, and in others it is not. So it is almost equally as lightweight and warm and durable, but and it also is very warm and fire resistant and all those things that wool offers as well. But alpaca hair has like a little crimp to it, and that is what causes everything that is made from alpaca yarn to grow over time, because there's a little crimp. It's like as if do you remember those hair irons that were used in the 90s, where you could just use it on your hair and you had this like little zigzaggy thing going? This is kind of what alpaca hair has naturally, and this little up and down movement, that now it's not actually movement, like this crimp that is in the hair will get pulled over time. So this crimp will so the most items made from alpaca yarn will have the tendency to grow over time, especially if you use it combined with a stitch like brioche, which also tends to grow. So a brioche alpaca fabric will definitely get bigger after you started wearing it. So that is one thing that is different from wool. So alpaca will not keep its shape as well. But also alpaca is quite a bit softer than wool is. So there are some people who find that wool is way too itchy for them, and they don't want to wear it next to skin. And for some of them, alpaca is the perfect alternative because it is much softer than wool is. And alpaca is great for items like shawls, because for a shawl it does not matter as much if it grows. You can also make smaller items like hats with alpaca. And if you would want to make a garment, I would always recommend using a blend, like that is some part alpaca and some part wool or something else. Maybe cotton. There are some amazing alpaca and cotton blends out there which are amazingly soft, and the cotton part helps that the item really keeps its shape. So what else have we in the animal fiber family? So there's silk, and silk is a very great insulator. So it is a fiber type that is both suited for summer and winter. It will keep you cool in summer and will keep you warm in winter, which is an amazing quality. It is very lightweight, and it is a very smooth fiber, which gives you this lovely sheen that silk projects have. Like if you have silk, then it's often like a little bit shiny and feels just very luxurious and soft. Silk is super soft next to skin. It has an amazing elasticity. If you pull the thread, it can get 10 to 20% longer than its original length without breaking. And silk is a fabric that is very, very drapey and lustrous. And silk is a fiber that can be ironed, so it allows the contact with heat. And what else? It is usually a fiber that is quite expensive. So it is perfect for sweaters. They will keep their shape very well, and it is also a fiber that is perfect to be blended with other fibers, also like wool, like the one I showed you earlier, the one that I used for my tea. This is a woolen and silk blend, and you probably all have worked with like the classic mohair, which is almost always not just mohair, but a mohair and silk blend. So the last animal fiber that I have prepared for today is mohair, which comes from the Angora goat. It has many similar properties, just like wool has. It is very durable, and it is warm. It can absorb a lot of moisture. It is fire resistant, and it is very, very soft. The fibers of mohair goats are usually the hair of mohair goats are usually quite a bit longer than wool, and they have also this luster, this sheen to it, very, very similar to silk, which is why mohair is most often combined with silk, like this one I showed you earlier. So it is almost always when people talking about mohair yarn, it is almost always a blend of mohair and silk. And the mohair part, I don't know if you can see it, are these fibers that are sticking out of here, like this lovely fluffy fibers. This is the mohair part. And as wool, you have to keep moths away from your mohair. They will moths basically love to eat all animal fibers because of the protein that is in the fiber. That is what the moths are after. So keep those fibers locked away from moths. And mohair is one of the fibers that is most hard or most difficultly to substitute. There are not many alternatives you can use for mohair, and one of the alternatives that I know, or basically the only actual alternative that I know, is Suri alpaca, which is also a very lustrous and fluffy fiber. But otherwise, if a pattern calls for mohair, there are not many other options that you could use if you don't want to use mohair. Some people find mohair itchy because of these long fibers. For me, that's not the case, but you know, everyone is different. So if you know that this is not your thing, then and you still want this fabric that has this, like this almost this halo of fibers sticking out of it, then Suri alpaca might be the only alternative that you have. Otherwise, it is not easy to reproduce the effect that mohair has in a project. So mohair is easy to dye, actually, more easier than other fibers, and it is almost always combined with silk, as I said, because I don't know if you can see it, like do you see that in this thread there's something that is quite a bit lighter? That is the silk base where the mohair fibers are caught in. So like spine of the yarn is made from silk. Yeah, so mohair is often used as a second thread, like if you hold two yarns together, and you can actually use it for almost anything. It gives this lovely luxurious feel, this halo to sweaters, to hats, to whatever you like. Some people even use mohair to make sock yarns stronger. If you want a nylon-free sock yarn, then some people use mohair as an alternative. So let's talk about the plant fiber family. I have prepared some information about cotton and linen, but there are also some other fibers like bamboo or viscose, but I think this episode is getting quite long already, so I'm going to talk a little bit about linen and cotton. Both of these fibers are much more breathable than animal fibers, so they are perfectly suited for summer garments, tops. And since linen and cotton are usually quite a bit heavier than animal fibers when we're talking about the same volume, they also have a lovely drape to it. Just as you can see, as I've shown you, this is a perfect example. It is super drapey and lovely. And cotton can stand very high temperatures, which is why it is lovely for any kind of kitchen accessory like pot holders or something like that. Cotton is the perfect material for that. And both of these fibers have the ability to absorb huge amounts of moisture. So that is why if you ever have pulled a cotton project out of a bath, then you will see that it is super, super heavy, which is also why cotton dries a lot slower than wool, for example, would. Cotton is a fiber that does never felt. You can rub it against each other, move it around, expose it to temperature. It is always going to stay unfelted. And cotton garments might grow a little bit over time while you're wearing them, but as soon as you wash them, they will shrink back to their original shape. So that's kind of a funny thing, because as I said, wool will hold its shape very well, while alpaca will grow, and with alpaca you don't have the same thing. Like, it will grow, and if you wash it, it will still be grown. But with cotton, it grows a little bit, much less than alpaca, but if you wash it, it will like spring back to the original shape that you have. You might have experienced this with your jeans. Like, if they are coming right off the machine, they are usually quite tight, and while wearing them, they get a little looser. Cotton is a fabric that has not much elasticity, so when I work with cotton, I usually have to make sure that I do not put too much tension on my working yarn, because else I will hurt my wrists. Yeah, so I guess that... I forgot one thing. Cotton and both cotton and linen are fabrics that don't build up static electricity while wearing, so and animal fibers either. While you're wearing them, you will never have like this feeling that your hair starts like to float like this from electricity. And if you compare cotton and linen, then cotton is a little bit fluffier and softer, while linen has more strength. And both of them are fibers that are perfect for summer projects. And linen especially has qualities that are quite unique. They are perfect for people who tend to be allergic to fibers. Then if you are one of those people, then linen is perfect for you because it is anti-allergic. And linen projects also will grow a little bit over time, but with linen you also have the effect that after each wash and continuing over years and years, linen will get very, very soft over time. So if you are working with linen for the first time, you might think that it is a little bit, I don't know, sturdy, or it doesn't feel as soft to the touch, but you will notice with every wash it goes through, it will get softer and softer and softer over time. And linen also is, just like wool, very odor resistant. So you will hardly ever have the feeling that your linen garment starts to smell. Yes, linen and cotton, in comparison to animal fibers, both can wrinkle a little bit. Linen especially, linen is known to have wrinkles. So I think that is also one reason why they often combine cotton and linen. So you still have like this lovely plant fiber attributes, but with cotton, the cotton part makes reduces the risk of wrinkles a little bit. Let me check my notes if I have. One thing that maybe is very interesting to you. As you see, linen and cotton are very similar fibers, but when they are produced, linen takes a lot less water in the production. So the production of cotton yarn and cotton fabric in general, like just the production of making, well, fibers, spinnable fibers from this lovely cotton balls, takes a lot more water than you would need if you make linen yarn. I think, and I forgot one thing more. Plant fibers are not at risk of being eaten by moths, because, as I said, moths always look for protein fibers, and plant fibers do not fit that desire to eat protein. They don't have that. The third fiber family that I would like to talk about are synthetic fibers. I have prepared 3 different types. First there's nylon, which is also called polyamide. Then we have acrylic yarn, and then we have polyester. So those 3 fiber types are usually quite affordable, and they are a great alternative for people who are, for example, allergic to wool, or for projects that have to have a very, very long durability, have to be very easy to care for, and for example, like baby projects. So let's look at these 3 fiber types. Nylon is the one that gives the most strength. So it is most often used for sock yarn to make the sock more sturdy, especially at the toes. You can add nylon to your yarn, and it is out of the 3 synthetic yarns, the one, because it is so sturdy, the one that is the most difficult to recycle. Then there is acrylic, which is the one that insulates the most. So it's the warmest, how do you say that? The one that keeps you warm the most. And it is a great alternative for people who are allergic, for example, to animal fibers, but also really don't want to use a plant fiber, which is more for summer, so they want a warm garment, then acrylic might be your choice. But you have to know that these kind of fibers cannot be exposed to a lot of heat because they will melt. So you don't, you're not able to make pot holders or something like that. That you can make out of cotton, because with acrylic you could actually hurt yourself very bad if the acrylic melts and gets to your fingers. That can give you quite an injury. So it is only possible to use acrylic for anything that is not exposed to heat. In terms of blocking, you can not actually wet block acrylic yarn, as it kind of does not change its state whether it's wet or dry. If you want to block it, and as far as this goes, I'm not talking out of experience, just from what I've heard, it is possible to block acrylic, and that is with low amounts of heat, like with your steaming iron. But in comparison to wool, which you can block several times over, if you're not happy with how you blocked it, like wet blocked it, then you can just make it wet again and reshape it the next time. As for acrylic, if you block it with heat, then it definitely stays in this one state that it is in. You cannot undo what you have done, because as I said, it tends to melt with heat, and blocking with heat is essentially like a milder form of melting it. So I was told you can block it, but you can do it only once. As I said, it is ideal for people who tend to be allergic, because it's as plant fibers, it's anti-allergic, but it also tends to attract an odor, and many people tend to sweat in acrylic sweaters because they do not have the ability that plant and animal fibers had, that they absorb moisture. Plastic fibers don't do that, so that is why you might feel warm or sweaty in acrylic sweaters. So if you compare acrylic to polyester, they share most of these attributes that I just talked about. The difference is that polyester is a little bit more breathable than acrylic yarn. So if you would want to use a synthetic yarn for a summer garment, you would rather use polyester, not as much as acrylic. And polyester is a little more durable than acrylic. Acrylic is the one that is more softer and fluffier. Yes, so I think that is everything that I have written down, and I hope this was not too much information this time. I feel like this episode might have been a little bit longer than the last one. I see what the final length is when I edit this, but I still hope that this was not too much. I usually attempt for an episode that is about half an hour, but I have a feeling this might be a little bit longer. Yeah. As always, I would like to close off this episode by spotlighting another knitter, designer, or podcaster. And today I would like to introduce you to Jenny, who goes under the handle Knitagoras on Instagram. She has many lovely designs, and one of her most known designs is the Fibonacci top. She is a mathematician, and she always has fun combinations of knitting and math, and I'm sure you will definitely enjoy her work. So here we are. Thank you so much if you have watched all the way till here. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'm very happy if you enjoyed the episode, and if you would consider subscribing to this channel. If you have anything that you would like to hear about in a future episode, for example, somebody asked for how I knit colorwork, I will happily show that in another episode. If you have any other topic, please let me know. I'm always interested to hear what you would like to see. Thank you so much, and till next time. Bye!